Today's episode is brought to you by Venmo. Look, no matter how your favorite team does this season, there's still one way to feel like a winner, and that's with Venmo. That's because when you use Venmo to transfer $50 or more to a DraftKings DFS account for the first time or the first time in 3+ months, you'll get $25 in DraftKings bonus credits. Terms apply. Just go to DraftKings.com/Venmo offer to activate your offer. Then choose Venmo to add funds to your DraftKings account, add $50 or more, and boom! 25 bonus credits will appear in your DraftKings account if you're eligible. This offer is only good through February 15th, 2026, or while supplies last, so don't fumble your chance before time runs out. Here's the deal. Venmo is a fast, easy way for you to add money onto DraftKings. And if you don't have a Venmo account yet, don't sweat it. You can download the app and sign up in minutes. So what are you waiting for? Just add $50 or more to your DraftKings DFS account with Venmo, and you'll get $25 in bonus credits. Go to DraftKings.com/Venmo offer and go get that bonus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. One per customer. Minimum $50 transfer from your Venmo account to DraftKings DFS account. $25 reward issued as non-withdrawable DK Dollars site credits that do not expire while rewards last. 20,000 total transfer redemptions available. See terms at www.draftkings.com/Venmo offer. Ends February 15th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern.
All right, kicking things off with Smirnoff, the official vodka sponsor of the NFL and the number one vodka in the world. Chris Cody, you're here.
Smirnoff!
Wow, you're on the money with Smirnoff.
Smirnoff!
Chris, you know what goes great with Smirnoff?
Smirnoff!
Yes, but I'm really talking about game day fit. The style's got to match the vibe.
Smirnoff!
All right, here's the deal. Game day is everything, and that's exactly why your fit has to match the occasion.
Smirnoff!
Starting this December, Smirnoff is giving fans 21 and over the chance to score limited edition Smirnoff commission merchandise from some of today's top creators, including Kayla Jones, Gavin Matthew, and Aleli May.
Smirnoff!
Here's the kicker. One lucky fan will take home the grand prize, a trip to the biggest game of the offseason. Plus, one fan will win Aleli May's one-of-one game day jacket.
Wow.
The merch will be dropped on select dates from December to January 21, and it's all courtesy of what brand?
Smirnoff!
That's right, Chris. Fans 21 and over can head to Smirnoff Socials to learn how to sign up. And don't forget to grab a bottle of Smirnoff vodka, number 21 at your local retailer.
Smirnoff!
Please drink responsibly.
Smirnoff!
Number 21 vodka distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anybody under legal drinking age.
Smirnoff!
No purchase necessary. Must be legal U.S. resident, 21 or older. Sweepstakes starts 12/15/2025 at 12 a.m. Eastern and ends 1/23/2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. See official rules at program website.
At Sierra, discover joyous deals on great gifts for everyone on your list. Like cozy slippers, ski gear, fishing poles, bikes, large kayaks, even larger canoes. Whew, which might lead to another discovery. Wrapping gifts is the only sport you need to stay fit this season. 'Tis the season to discover great gifts at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Something that I've been eager to do here for a while, and I wanted to start it with someone who's become a good friend in adulthood. I don't have a lot of friends who have become friends when I've gotten later in life. I wanted to talk to people who are real good with their standards and with craftsmanship about how-to stuff, how they do what they do, how they care, why they care. And Dan Patrick has been very caring about what he makes for a long time. He's a maximum professional. Nobody has anything bad to say about Dan Patrick. He's a pillar of integrity. And what he does here in the, I'm going to say, the last incarnation of his professional life is very different from the other things that he did before, and it's the most similar to the thing that we do. I've told you before that Dan Patrick is an inspiration and has granted us permission to have producers talk and do what we do the way that we do. So, by way of introduction, Dan, thank you for being on with us, and thank you for doing this. I know you don't like to talk about some of this stuff, but your standard is something that has been very impressive to me for a long time, and it seems like it's an unforgiving one. It seems like joy might get lost somewhere in the way that you try to get to better all the time, and I don't know how often you achieve what you want to achieve. So let's start there. How often do you leave your show, what percentage of time do you leave your show feeling like your best was good enough?
No, never. Never. No, I can't do it. It just feels like I'm giving in. And I was reminded of this. I had Dan Hurley, the UConn basketball coach, on, and he said, I'm just going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can, and basically I hope I don't die. And while I don't take it to that degree, I got to go as fast as I can, as best I can for as long as I can, and then I'll be done. It took me a long time to savor some of this stuff that I've done. And I just worried that if I stopped or slowed down, Satchel Paige always said, don't, slow down, somebody will catch you, or don't look over your shoulder.
Don't look back. Yeah, don't look back.
Yeah.
Someone might be gaining on you.
And in this business, this is a tough, you eat them in the process of going up the ladder, and it eats you coming down the ladder. I just never wanted to stop and go, that was pretty good.
I've learned a lot from you, though, but I think that I can learn from you here by not doing what you're doing, because it seems like that would get in the way of savoring. You just said that you just recently got to some more savoring. How'd you get there?
My wife. She's the one that keeps reminding me that there's small victories. I said, but there's a bigger war at stake. It's not you win a battle, you win a battle, you win a battle. Enjoy that. And I don't see that. I just see that this is daily. This is hand-to-hand combat. But it served me. I don't recommend this. I don't recommend this at all. And I passed it on to one of my children, and I can see it. And I have to tell her, to remind her, hey, slow down, enjoy, savor. Like, I get to do this. I don't have to do this. I get to do this. And even today, I never sit still during commercials. Like, I have to walk all the way around the building. Like, I'm outside. I just have to keep moving. I just worry about just staying stationary. And I walked outside, and it was about, 10:16 in the morning, and it's raining, and it's one of those moments where you go, I get to do this. For the most part, trying to appreciate the next 2.5 years of doing this live radio and TV show.
For those of you who don't know, he will be retiring in 2.5 years, allegedly. I'll believe it when I see it. I believe he will have a need to do something somewhere, because if you get this much of your identity from something, it's pretty hard to put it down. Can you explain to me where all that comes from? Like, have you done the introspection on why it is you are that way?
I really don't. I really don't know, other than middle child. Yeah, I mean, my mom to her deathbed thought I was just lucky. She wouldn't say that I was great. She would just say, you were lucky. You're lucky. And so in your mind, you're like, God, am I? Which it's not true, but I think I was always trying to impress my mom. Sometimes you try to impress the people who don't matter to you. But my mom, of course, did. And then I realized no matter what I did, I'm handing out the Super Bowl trophy. And I called and talked to her. She said, who picked out your tie? And I went, damn, I just handed out the Super Bowl trophy. But that's the kind of family that I grew up in. In a lot of ways, they kept me grounded. Nobody was put on a pedestal. Even now, I was always looking for some kind of acknowledgement, recognition, and damn it, I'm going to get it. Until I realized that I didn't need it, or I didn't really want it. But it allowed me to have that carrot that I'm chasing, and I'm going to continue to do it.
I thought your dad was the one that was hard to please.
No. My dad died when I was 25, so he never got to see any of this. He took great pride and love in anything we do. My sisters were cheerleaders, 2 brothers who were football players, and then myself and my other brother basketball players. And he tried to be there for all of our events, but he was not hypercritical. My mom was. She was tough, but that's who raised us from, time I was 25 on. When your dad dies at a young age and your mom doesn't have any money, there's no retirement, there's no insurance, all of a sudden it's, Amber Alert here. All hands on deck. Now all of a sudden the dynamic has changed, and everything was about a job and holding on to the job and savoring a job, working hard at the job. And, so it kind of got ingrained in my head of don't take it for anything for granted, and keep going.
Do you realize, though, that you don't give any of that off? You're such a polished television person. I don't know how much anxiety there is there, but no one would ever see it unless they were in your home.
Oh, yeah, it's all internalized. I mean, I'll be around my guys, and I'll say, we can't let these small things, they can't fall through the cracks. I mean, we have to do this. It's little things, but I want them to understand those little things, because we focus on the big things, and in this business, the little things can really trip you up. But other than that, I mean, they know that I want it to be great. I think I'm difficult to give a compliment to, and therefore I don't know if they'll say, "Hey, that was really a good interview." I'll go, I mean, I'm already on to the next thing, and so maybe we don't even go through the machinations of doing that.
Are you good at giving compliments?
Yeah. Yes, because I know what it can feel like.
But you're not receiving them, right? Or you're not showing people you're not doing very much in the way of receiving.
Yes. But I got to the point where it didn't matter. Like, you're looking for it, you're waiting for it, and it wasn't coming, and therefore you just become kind of numb to it. This goes back to being a middle child. I was just kind of then nobody cared. I mean, there's 6 kids. Nobody cared. It's like, where's Dan? I don't know. He'll be home. So I think that's kind of how I see myself in the sea of broadcasters or radio shows. Like, we're in it.
So what happens to you as you look at your daughter and see that she has this particular chromosome, the Dan Patrick I care too much chromosome?
I just see how tense it makes her, or the inability to relax with something or savor something. She's a perfectionist, and I just know what that is. I know that feeling, and my wife can't relate to that. Even though I say you should be able to relate to it, because that's how I am every single day. And then, my one daughter is she's maniacal at work ethic. I mean, but there's nothing you can do. I have turned it down. The volume is down to around a 7. It was at an 11 for a long time. At the mothership, I never stopped. I volunteered for everything. Missed birthdays or anniversary. I mean, it didn't matter. I was going to do it. And part of that is imposter syndrome. It's like, God, they're going to figure out one day I'm not very good, but I'm going to build up so much house credit that they can't get rid of me.
You don't still have imposter syndrome, do you?
Oh, I think there are times when I have. I've turned down a couple of things recently. It just happened last week where, one was a TV show and one was a sporting event. And I said, I don't think so. I appreciate it. I don't think so.
And it was doubt? It was doubt in your ability at this age to meet your standard, which you never meet anyway. So
yes. I mean, and my wife says, why don't you take a risk? And I said, no. I'm good. I like other people, give it to younger people to do it. I don't know if I can do it great. I don't know. And so my doubt comes in with being great. Is that great? Because, your standard is high. Whether it's received that way or perceived that way, it's high. You want to be great every time. Like, you have somebody on and get done with the baseball commissioner or Dan Hurley, and you go, how did we do something? All right, good. Okay. Boom. Then we move on. I go back to COVID. We did so many great shows during COVID because we had to. Creativity, workmanship, camaraderie. And I've never been prouder of the show because we had to create stuff out of thin air for 3 hours and it's live.
All right, so apparently everyone is launching their own AI agents now. You get an agent. No, you get an agent. They're automating tasks, running workflows, making decisions, and occasionally absolutely wrecking your day. You know what I'm talking about. An agent deletes the wrong files, changes something you've never approved, or just goes completely off script, like it's trying to improvise its way out of a paper bag. And suddenly, you're the one stuck trying to figure out what went wrong unless you're using Rubrik Agent Cloud. Because here's the thing, AI is moving fast, like really fast. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that lets you monitor, govern, and rewind AI agent actions. One platform that lets you unleash more agents faster without fear that they're going to burn the place down. You get full visibility into what your agents are doing. You can enforce guardrails, you can actually quantify the risk, and if something breaks, you just rewind it, like an undo button, but for AI. And that rewind happens in minutes, not hours or days. And if your business relies on AI agents, you need the ability to monitor, govern, and rewind their actions. Right now, Batard Show listeners get exclusive early access to Rubrik Agent Cloud. Head to Rubrik.com, that's RUBRIK.com, Rubrik.com.
It's a holiday season and the 50th anniversary of Miller Lite. The holiday is all about spending time with friends and family. Why don't you sit back and toast a few Miller Lights? Make your holiday time 'tis Miller time. And with the 50th anniversary of Miller Lite, you get to remember and reflect on all the good times that you had with your trusty buddy by your side, Miller Lite. Brewed for flavor with simple ingredients like malted barley, rich, balanced toffee notes, and that iconic golden color. And at 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces, it lets you enjoy the season without weighing you down. The original light beer since 1975, and still hitting different 50 years later. The best holiday beers are the ones you don't expect. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. 'Tis Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Marty Supreme, Christmas Day. Marty Supreme, Christmas Day. Marty Supreme, Christmas Day. Marty Supreme, Christmas Day. You know what I'm going to be doing on Christmas Day, and it's going to be watching Marty Supreme. Because I didn't even need to know that critics were calling Marty Supreme a full-throttle masterpiece and the best movie of the year. I already knew that was going to be the case. From A24 and starring Timothée Chalamet, alongside powerhouse cast Gwyneth Paltrow, Odessa Ozion, and Tyler Acoma, Marty Supreme, Christmas Day, only in theaters.
Dan Le Batard.
What is the worst part of the life?
Stugotz.
The worst part of the life of what?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Well, what are you aiming for, though? Because I'm aiming for laughing, thinking, moving. I'm aiming for connection with the audience in those places. What are you aiming for?
I don't know. It's probably those. I love to laugh. I have fun with it. I have maybe a different sense of humor, but I want you to think. I want you to have some kind of reaction. I want you to remember something from an interview, from a segment.
When you think of perfectionism, because it's a blessing and a curse, I imagine you think you've arrived at the place that you have because of that perfectionism. But it is also a curse. How is it a curse? And what else does it give you other than the feeling that it's responsible for your success? Your standard is the reason that you have had the success you have. Your standard is the reason why you are an unusual talent, even if you may not always know you're an unusual talent.
I just know each day I come in and I have the same feeling. I have the same butterflies, when the theme music comes on. Get out of the gate, set the tone, have some thoughts. Don't be afraid to take a left turn. Be well researched. Have a start, a middle, a finish. Incorporate everybody. When you've dried out a topic, move on. Know when it's time to move on. So it's a variety of things every single day.
You make it look easy. Tell the people how prepared you actually are.
Oh boy, I'm overly prepared. But Paulie, my producer, is great when I say, "What do you think?" And then he'll give me 2 or 3 things. I'll always ask research. Give me some things that you guys are interested in. I have younger guys who work in the back. what are you interested in with this guest? And they might go, we don't know who Tim Robbins is. I said, well, he is Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption. And then they'll offer up something. And sometimes they don't, but I love a democracy. It's a dictatorship when I turn on the microphone, but it's a democracy when we prepare, and we'll vet out, does that guy make sense? Does that guest make sense? Is that topic worthy? And that's the fun part of it, is I've got a dartboard, and it doesn't matter where I'm throwing the dart. We're going to have a topic, a guest, and that's every single day. And there's a great freedom. The best thing I have when I left ESPN is the freedom to do what I'm doing. I'm in partnership with iHeartRadio, and I'm in partnership with Peacock and NBC, but it's really just us. There's 12 people that work on this show. I don't have somebody over my shoulder. I don't have somebody who is, calling me into an office. And, that's the reward, I think, for everything that I went through prior to this.
What's it like working for you?
I would like to think I'm a great boss. I around everybody, talk to everybody, on the air, off the air, want to make sure that you're good, want to make sure that your son's doing well playing soccer, your daughter's at Wake Forest, your daughter's playing high school basketball, your son just started playing basketball. That's what I should be, is I'm the boss, I'm HR, I'm a friend, I'm the host of the show. And to build those friendships, because building those friendships builds the camaraderie that you hear and see on the air.
But I imagine that you're demanding, and I imagine that it would be pretty crushing to disappoint you.
Yes.
And if those things are so, that might make you a personal boss, an accessible boss, but that would be a boss that would always or would often create something that if it's not fear, that fear of disappointing you, I don't know how else to describe it, right? Like if your standard is so high that you rarely meet it, I imagine it would be very hard for your employees to meet it as well.
No, I don't hold them to the same standard. I just want them to be as great as they can be. I want you to have a high standard. I want you to be somebody who's hard to satisfy with the show that we had. I move on quickly from these things because I have to. I just want them to enjoy what we're doing. They'll never have an opportunity like this. They'll never have a boss like me. They just won't. And I tell them that because this business is a chew you up, spit you out business. Loyalty is optional. And I just want them to come in and want it to be the funniest, the most serious, the most important, the most researched, the most. Do the best you can.
I haven't struggled with imposter syndrome, but now that we talk about this, I would say that the only place that I've ever had in my career where I know I'm meeting my standard, and if I'm meeting my standard, then I feel like I'm meeting just about anybody's standard, it's in writing. It's when I write. When do you feel that? Because I imagine when you were doing SportsCenter, it was the biggest show in America. It was pioneering. You were doing it with Olbermann. I would imagine you might feel that, but you were doing it with somebody who I'm guessing you thought was more naturally gifted at television than you were, and now you're being a grinding carpenter next to somebody who's just an obviously very talented off-the-cuff artist in Keith Olbermann.
Yeah, I thought I was kind of a bricklayer, and meanwhile, he's carving out statues. But in my mind, I'm like that. I just never took it for granted. I always wanted to be better. And there were certain things that I did better than Keith and vice versa. But I also knew I had to find a way to compliment him. How do I... if he's Lennon, I'm McCartney. Now, once again, that's just an analogy, not our place in history. I'm just saying that there's opposites, but opposites work when they're together. May not work when they're not on the air, but on the air, he was such a great teammate. And so my goal every night was, how do we make this great, must-see TV? It felt like there were two people. It was just Keith and myself, and we were doing something on an island that management didn't fully embrace, appreciate, but we knew we were doing something that was different and changing the business. And we knew that it was resonating. That was an exciting time. But then you get to that point where you're being acknowledged. Now the game begins. It's like the first time you become an all-star. Well, the pressure now is the second time you become an all-star, not the first time. And just that first time where you get recognized and it's like, okay, it's on.
But when you would leave those shows, would you also not have met your standard? Was it different than the radio show is?
I watched every single SportsCenter I did right after I did SportsCenter. And I was looking for the things I didn't do well or didn't do right. I was looking for subtle nuance. How did I look? How did I sound? Timing of, with a home run, not getting in the way of a highlight, all this stuff. So no, I did not appreciate it because I was maniacal and I didn't want somebody to take my job. And Keith had the great line one time. I mean, I'm really grinding right after the show. I walk right into the control room. I get the big tape. I go upstairs and I go through the entire show. And Keith walks by at one point and he says, "You got the fucking job." And then he kept walking. And it helped me relax. I would time it out. If Greg Maddux threw a pitch and Bonds was going to hit a home run, I wanted that ball to get to the bat. It had to get to the bat, and then I'd go, gone. I wanted it to have the timing of it. And it was down like crazy, down to a split millisecond. Maddux with the pitch, gone. Bonds is 47th, 122 RBIs, Giants lead 4-2. Like, the cadence was what I wanted. I wanted it melodic, and I was way in under the covers with this. But that's the only way I knew how to do it. I had no other way other than do it great. Do it the best you can. And then, because you don't cheat yourself. You got this opportunity. 5 years prior to being on SportsCenter in Dayton, Ohio. Don't have a job in TV. And I'm thinking about, I'm going to stay in radio. Didn't get the weekend job in Dayton, Ohio. Go to see an ex-girlfriend in Atlanta. Hey, bring a resume tape. CNN's hiring. I couldn't get hired in Dayton. Now I'm going to get hired at CNN? And then I did. And then 6 months later, I replaced Oberman in New York as the New York Bureau reporter. 5 years later, I'm sitting next to Bob Lee on SportsCenter. Maybe my mom was right. I am lucky.
Well, she was right about that tie. It was shit. What you're describing sounds like a plague, though. You understand that, right? The way that you're describing this, even though it results in great success and probably fulfillment, but not necessarily joy, it sounds like a bit of a plague, the way that you're describing it. Because if you're doing SportsCenter with that kind of timing, you're doing the best show, it's a pioneering show, and yet you're noticing all of the mistakes, and every night you're noticing all the mistakes, and you're never going to be perfect, and you're never going to meet your standard. That sounds like not good enough is going to be the undercurrent on just about everything you're doing.
We didn't get good feedback from management. That didn't help. I mean, now, many, many years later, they all take credit for it. But back then, they didn't want us to be successful. It was weird. And I've said this before. A member of management said, "We don't want another Berman." And that meant that they didn't want somebody to be successful who they couldn't control. And I thought, why wouldn't you want somebody? Chris Berman is the founding father of ESPN. Yes, Bob Lee and Tom Meeks, but without Chris, there's no ESPN. And I thought, that guy has put in the time and the sweat equity, and I mean, to make this place stand out and not be, that little network. It became more than that. And Keith and I were able to ride, those coattails, inhale some of those fumes. But management, they wanted everybody to be the same. The 4 letters are more important. And I realized that. Now, that was another problem. You're looking for acknowledgement that was never going to be there.
Quick break to talk to you about the official ticketing partner of the Dan Le Batard Show, Game Time. The NFL regular season is already winding down, and this is when the games get really good, and tickets are in high demand. Some of them really difficult to find, so why don't you take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with the Game Time app? I use it all the time because it gives me the advantage. That's right, sports fans, take the power back. It's the hack for grabbing amazing tickets in just a couple of taps. Super easy, super reliable. And with the Game Time guarantee, you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are included. What you see is what you pay. Do yourself a favor. Open up the Game Time app right now. You'll see tons of seats available, lower bowl, midfield, upper deck, and NFL tickets starting at around $100. Pick what you want. Tap, tap, done. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast? Smart move. Being financially savvy? Smart move. Another smart move? Having State Farm help you create a competitive price when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the personal price plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
There's a reason Chevy trucks are known for their dependability, because they show up no matter the weather, push forward no matter the terrain, and deliver. That's why Chevrolet has earned more dependability awards for trucks than any other brand in 2025, according to J.D. Power. Because in every Chevy truck, like every Chevy driver, dependability comes standard. Visit Chevy.com to learn more. Chevrolet received the highest total number of awards among all the trucks in the J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Vehicle Dependability Study. Awards based on 2022 models. Newer models may be shown. Visit JDPower.com/awards for more details. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Dan Le Batard.
While there's nothing official and conversations are still ongoing.
Was that a fake Schefter?
Because
it was
pretty good.
It was excellent.
I feel like there's
excellent.
legs. Yeah.
I tried at the beginning and then I lost confidence in it.
Why? It was good. It was good.
You got
There's
this.
nothing official.
Yeah, it's so
and
good.
Conversations are still ongoing.
Stugotz.
It is trending towards Nick Sirianni remaining the head coach of the Eagles.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
That was one of the most stunning things to me about being there, realizing that it was a production company run by producers who weren't actually very good at producing the things that would stand out in protection of the 4 letters, the brand. The first conversations I had with an ESPN executive of any kind were about brand protection, and I just kept saying to that person, like, I don't care about that stuff. Like, that's just not, it's, why would I care about that stuff? That's not interesting. And I really was stunned that as a production company run by producers, they weren't better at arming their talent with, with things that would make them produce better things. It was weird.
Well, I had a couple of really good producers. Mike McQuaid, who's now running ESPN.
He's great. He's great. Mike McQuaid is, it took too long for him to get to where he got at ESPN.
And he worked in the mailroom. Norby Williamson.
Less great.
In the mailroom. But they were great at producing the 11 o'clock Sports Center. Great. My favorite McQuaid story, I don't know if I ever told you this, where he's going to he would pick up people at the airport. He's starting out as a runner, basically. And he's told to go pick up John Walsh at the Radisson Hotel. John Walsh, the genius behind SportsCenter, he's albino. So McQuaid, they're like, you can't miss him. He's an albino. Well, Mike goes over to the Radisson Hotel and goes into the lobby. There's an albino convention going on. He goes, they're all albinos when he called back. I just love that story. But I mean, we were in the middle of nowhere, Bristol, Connecticut. You got a McDonald's, a Friendly's that closed down, but you're kind of running a good portion of the sports world, that every single night. And it was exciting. It was fun. We're making it up as we go along. Management wasn't well versed. We weren't well versed. We're just figuring it out all along. I mean, I was with Oberman for 5 years. We never had arguments, never had fights, nothing. A total team effort. But I knew it was going to end. And I was really disappointed because I'd never get that again. Didn't matter if I was, with Kenny Mayne or Bob Lee. It just wasn't going to happen. And they were all really good anchors, co-anchors. And it was sad. It was the first time where I was like, God, I'll never get that back. But Keith was done. Keith had other things that he wanted to accomplish. And I just remember one day, I thought, oh, God, I'm going to be the old guy on SportsCenter. Like, I looked around, and I was the old guy on SportsCenter. And then I started doing the 6 o'clock, and I go, that's where they put the old guys. And that's when I realized I'd stayed too long. And I was 50. I'd stayed too long. And I remember coming home and telling my wife, I said, I got to get my ass kicked. She goes, by who? I said, me. Either I've outgrown ESPN or ESPN's outgrown me, but I got to do something. And that kind of set in motion like a myriad of things where you're going, I got 4 kids. Like, what am I going to, I got to challenge myself. What am I going to do? And I remember I was leaving and I wanted to do the Olympics. Dick Ebersol had always wanted me to work with NBC. And so I'm leaving ESPN, and then they said, you can't do TV for 6 months. They wouldn't let me do the Olympics. And I was like, oh, boy, game on. Game on. So I started doing some radio. We were doing it in my attic, out of my house for 3 years. But it was maybe the best 3 years I've had in the business because it brought us all together, literally, in my attic every single morning. My wife's getting kids out to school in her bathrobe, and I got Fritzy and Seton and Paulie going up the back stairs, and you're doing a national radio show. And forever indebted that those guys took a chance because they were, Fritzy was established at the mothership, and Seton was. Paulie was working for Tony Stewart as a producer on his radio show. But I'm asking them to take a leap of faith. And I wouldn't have done that if I was in their situation. But they did it. And I mean, that's the true, I'm going to take, Butch Cassidy's Sundance Kid, I'm going to jump off the cliff. And they did it. And they're still with me, all these years.
What a magical transition you made into something that ultimately you end up being prouder of than even the biggest sports television highlight show that there has ever been. And you mentioned figuring it out as you went along. I've told you this story before, and I've told others this story before, of being stunned, just shocked. I'm walking through the bowels of the Miami Heat's arena. I don't know you very well. I know who you are, but I don't know you at all. And you look at me, who is just sort of starting his radio career, and you say, I can't do what you do. I couldn't do what you do, which of course you could. But what was happening there? Was it a matter of opinion giving, of being the person who's a taker, who has to be a hot taker, who has to be interesting every day for 3 hours without a script? Like, what was happening there that you would say such a thing? Because I remember looking at you and being just like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, how can he possibly think that?
I have great admiration for writers, great writers, on deadline writers, columnists, guys who are writing after a game, an event. And I guess I could. I mean, I write columns every day live on radio. I mean, we do columns every single day. But it was my way of complimenting you that you can have an idea, have a start, middle, and an end. You can take a stand. You weren't afraid. And I think it was just me with great appreciation. I read so much. I read so many newspapers when I was at CNN and ESPN. A constant. All the great writers and columnists. I just wanted to consume it and understand it and appreciate it, the written word. And I think it was just my way of saying, I can't do what you do. That doesn't mean I couldn't learn to do it or you can do what I do. It was just my way of sort of a drive-by compliment, where you're passing the collection plate at church and you put money in it. That's all it was. I've just put money in the collection plate and, moving on.
That's what a compliment sounds like from Dan Patrick. No wonder I missed it. I didn't even realize it was a compliment. I assume that what you were saying is having to be someone who's interesting for 3 hours is what I assumed you were saying at the time, that you would have some difficulty as you're doing an hour show at the time on television. It's polished and it's great, but you don't have to have 3 hours of thoughts on things that are different from everyone else's thoughts on things.
But I'm complimenting you on being a columnist, not a radio show host.
I didn't even know that because at the time I was already transitioning in my career. You were already doing some of what it is. I think you were doing that. How long have you been doing your show? You've been doing your show longer than I've been doing this one, right? You've been at it more than 20 years, correct?
Well, I did it at the mothership for quite a few years, and I've been out on my own, I think, now 18 years.
It's what you're proudest of, right? The thing that you built after leaving ESPN is your greatest professional pride, right?
Well, because it wasn't based on 4 letters. You can hide behind, you can lean on those 4 letters ESPN. I didn't have that luxury. I just knew I wanted to do it in a way that reflected my personality. At ESPN, you're kind of, yelling down the rabbit hole. Let's bring in this analyst from ESPN to talk about this show on ESPN, and then this analyst to talk about this game on ESPN. So it wasn't what I love doing, and that is it could be a variety of topics and a variety of guests. I remember when I started at ESPN Radio, they wouldn't let you have anybody on who wasn't ESPN. Because I wanted to have Peter Gammons on, and I wanted to have Rick Riley on. And then they didn't want that. I'm like, why not? We keep sending the same message to the same people in our audience. Let's expand this. And they fought me on that. They didn't want you to take phone calls. Fought me on that as well. And I always vowed if I got out and I started to do it again, I was going to do it in the way that I wanted to. I was going to have fun. It was going to be reflective of my personality. But I would say that in my broadcasting school might be the most important thing I've ever done because you're truly changing lives. At Full Sail University, we have 240 grads in a little over 5 years who are in sportscasting, broadcasting. They're either on the air, behind the scenes. So 240 graduates. That is changing somebody's life. And I always wanted to do it. I just thought that, my name attached to this, getting the right people, the right faculty, the right person on the ground, Gus Ramsey, who worked with me at ESPN, and teaching you. You're preparing for the SAT. Well, you're going to get 1,500 on the SAT. I'll guarantee you that. It's the other 100, that's up to you. But that's probably the proudest that I've ever been.
I'll let you go on this note. When you think of the things about your show that make you proudest, the 20 years you're retiring in 2.5 years, what is it about your show that gives you the most personal pride when you allow yourself the moment to feel personal pride?
I wanted to create a voyeuristic TV show on radio. I kind of in my mind conceptualized, okay, what if I have cameras all over the place? I don't know what that's going to cost, but you get to watch us during the show. You get to watch us during commercials. It is on TV, but we're we don't acknowledge the cameras because it's a radio show. It has to stay a radio show. And I just thought, I can do a cooking section. I can do something on the golf simulator. We can throw footballs. We can shoot basketball. We played pickleball on the show. All of these things that I could incorporate product and still have fun. I don't want you just sitting. When you do a radio show, you just kind of sit. I want you moving and having integration. It's live. So that part of it, I'm very proud. I see a lot of these other shows, and I know they're trying, and I take some pride in that. But that's what I really wanted to do. Is I wanted to create something visually stimulating. Everything you see on the show is mine. Things that I've collected for 42 years in this business. I have press passes from covering the Celtics against the Rockets in the NBA championship with Larry Bird. I kept everything. And I thought, now I can put it on display. And I think I'm an interior decorator or set designer in another universe because I love it. I have police patches that are right in front of me. I change them up all the time. I got all kinds of tchotchkes here, but I love it. If you notice things, great. If you don't notice it, that's fine. But I love that. But I think at the core, I always wanted to have a great sounding radio show. And I tell, the Danettes, it has to sound great. It's not look great. It's sound great. And then it'll look great.
That's the way you care. He changed the game multiple times and multiple ways. Thank you for spending this time with us. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, Dan. Thank you, man.
Thank you.